Loading screen? What's a loading screen? Happy Wednesday, September 14th, 2022, episode 80 something? 80, it's 81 or 82? What? Shit. Maybe I did this wrong. Maybe a great way to start. Mute this. Okay, I'm saying it's 82. Is it 82 though? Oh my god, it is 82. Lucky. It's kind of a lucky guess. Could have gone either way there. So welcome to episode 82, Beyond the Double Red Doors. I'm your host, and I'm thirsty. Sorry. Forgot to do that. I'm a little ticked off. So I'm going to talk about it. I'm talking about why I'm ticked off. Let me get comfy. For me, being comfy means sitting on my feet. By the way, I had a problem with my mixer. So if the audio sounds weird, let me know. I'm going through a different preamp that in theory is not as good. But my theory is also that it's kind of pearls before swine. Not the swine. I'm not calling any of you all swine. I'm calling the converters that YouTube uses for audio. Those are the swine. So I'm using a preamp that is a pretty good preamp, and I feel like, and I had a problem with it, and now I'm switching to one that's not as good, but I kind of think like it won't make a difference on the YouTube side, I think. But if things sound different, let me know. And now that I've said that, don't let that influence your feelings one way or the other. So yeah, using the wider angle, which I probably will be for a while anyway. I feel like every time I see something like this, it's always, you see more of the person. I feel like before it was just like this square was very, very confining. I didn't, maybe I want to bring the gimbal up here and pop this camera on the gimbal so I can move wherever I want and then it'll move with me. But I don't move very much. So what's the point? So I'm upset about a couple things. They're going to seem petty. But that's the beauty of, I guess, like, if the problems that you have with life are petty, then count yourself lucky, I suppose, is the way to look at this. For those of you who saw the last video I did, these are what remains of, the light was shining off that. These are what remains of the leeches. They were chunks of Elmer's goo. And yes, that's correct. They just took the L out of glue and called it goo. So they all kind of flattened out. I thought they did a good job of looking like leeches, kind of, They weren't really in focus. They have a medicine-y smell, though. I don't really like touching them because of that. But I knew I've got these Petri dishes. I knew I'd find a use for them eventually. And apart from just reflecting light, like I sometimes would have them in the background so that they just reflect a little more light. And damn it, I finally found a use for them. And I felt like that sort of test video of using the camera on the gimbal worked pretty well, like in the context of like you're at a doctor's office and you're kind of anxious, like maybe, because it was kind of twitchy. It's also using the release version of the firmware for that gimbal, and DJI is really good about really doing new firmware releases that will do things like, give you more options on how you can control the sensitivity of how much do I have to move out of center of frame before it starts to correct. Like I found you don't really have a way to control that. And that's what I found was like a little bit weird. It was trying to keep like my eyes in the same place. So if I just didn't move my body at all and I just went like this, the camera would move, with my head, which is good. And for most stuff that's good. But when I was just kind of like doing little motions and it was jerking around, that was a little annoying. And I could always take that footage because it's 4K footage, and I could always like crop in on it and do a warp stabilize on the whole thing and make it all smooth and nice. But that takes forever. And there's one thing I have found that I absolutely do not have when it comes to video making on any sort of consistent basis, and that is patience. I got none. So in the course of shooting that video, I took some of the stuff that was up here and I took it down into the basement. And most that left me like with still almost everything that I needed except for like a decent key light. So I ordered another key light, which is what I'm using right now. However, only half of it works. So it's amazing to like. I shouldn't be amazed by this, but I am. It's amazing to me that you can get like a cloth map light, matte light. Sorry, it's 2 feet by 2 feet. The key light that I'm using now. Here, I'll take a. I know you all are super interested in this. Take a picture of it. This is what is illuminating most of me. Let's say I did not have that key light. Let's say that key light did not exist. What would it look like? It would look like this. Actually, that's kind of nice. Kind of like that. With Modi. Ooh, you can see the battery operated candle doing its thing. When I turn on the key light, you can't really see that. Well, this would be a good way to do just kind of a. Let's take it down. How y'all doing this evening? All of a sudden, there's a different mood. Or maybe if I were to make it, let's see. No, go down more than that. You can do it. You can do it. No, you can't do it. You can't do it. You're not that good of a light, are you? You're not that good of a light if I can't put you at 1%. If your color doesn't kick on until 2%, and then it's already super bright. Like, give me... No, it's not working. No. It's either off or it's at 1%. Damn. Well... It's another thing for me to be angry about. Maybe if I've switched to a different blue. Ooh, look at that. That's a moody kind of blue. Hey. Color contrast is a great thing. I enjoy messing around with color contrast. Anyway, so this is a 2 foot by 2 foot light. And it's on a matte turn it back to normal. Just get you back to where we need you. Oh God, I've made a terrible mistake. I had this histogrammed out, and now I don't know if it's going to be too bright or not, or if the color is going to be off. Oh, I'm such a piece of shit. No, that's too much. No, that's too little. Let's say quarter CTO. Let's go with that. All right, let's call it good. Anyway, so I got that light, and half of it doesn't work. It's a foldable 2x2 mat. Only a foot by a foot of it works. You may say, oh, well, I saw that picture. It looks like it all works. Well, that's because I have a... Damn it. It's because I have a diffusion mat in front of it. But it really doesn't work. It really is... What you're seeing is... You can actually tell when you look at this. This up here, this part, doesn't work. There's actually no lights on there. Or just the green LEDs are on. And you're like, well, green LEDs? Why do you have green LEDs when you're using tungsten light? It's green. It's green. Especially, you got to have green, especially if you're using a Blackmagic camera. You got to have some green in your light. Well, no, actually, especially if you use Canon. So you can tell here, right? Like, so this is the Canon. You see the skin color is very different. Skin color here is more green. Skin color here, more magenta. So if you're using like a Canon, you would add more green to your tungsten light. And if you're using a Blackmagic, you might add some more magenta. So yes, even white light is, it's not really white. Just like Arial. Be whatever color they want. So yeah, my son loved the promo for Little Mermaid. I thought it was fantastic. Anyway, yeah, so I'm a little bit upset about that because I was in figuring out who to get this light from. I was like, okay, who can I get this light from by Wednesday? And made my selection and got here last night. And half of it doesn't work. And Amazon used to be really good. They used to be really good about returns. Like they would let you keep the thing. They would send you another thing. Like if you were like, this thing doesn't work, they would say, okay, keep it. We'll send you another one. When you get the replacement, then send back the one that doesn't work. And if you don't send it back by a certain date, then we're going to charge you double. Because, of course, they don't do that anymore. At least not for me. Maybe there may be like a customer by customer basis kind of thing that they're doing. But for me, no, you got to send it back before they send you the new one. So because this works to some extent, I find myself in an invidious position because, even at half its actual effective power, it's a really, really... I mean, this is half of the light that it has, literally half of the LEDs that it has available. And it's at 10% right now. Were I to do something really stupid, like pump it up to 100%, hello. I kind of like that. I kind of like that too. This is what I've been told that I definitely exhibit sort of tendencies that might be indicative of high functioning autism or whatever. Because I could just kind of like sit here. Well, that's better at 16, isn't it, than at 10? It needs to be a little brighter. Yeah, sometimes you got to do that to kind of get the perspective that you need. Like I thought this was bright enough. That's not bright enough. That's too bright. See, I don't have the histogram up right now, so I can't tell for sure what is the right luminance value for my skin. But I'm going to go with that. So anyway, the reason that I like this light so much is because it's a matte. And you could see when I showed you the picture, the camera there, There's not a lot of space between the edge of this table, like where this is my standing desk. There's not much space between here. There's maybe only a couple feet between here and the wall. So if you're familiar with like COB lights will have like a big dome attachment, right? And it can be like 2 or 3 feet. And then the light is a cannon behind it. So you can have, like 3 feet of depth to a light, which I don't really have that kind of space here. If I have to do that, then I have to move everything back, or the light is a little too close to me to get the spread that it needs, You know what I'm talking about? But if it's a mat, literally a mat, like it's like, I won't use this. It's a mat. It's like a floppy Rubbermaid mat you would put down for your kids to eat on. It's about that thin, and it flops around. It's bifurcated. It has a cord running into it. And the lights on the far side of the bifurcation from the cord do not work. I'm upset by that. But you see, it's still pretty powerful. But I need to send it back, which means I'm going to need to lug some stuff from the basement up here. These are first world problems. I'm looking to fill time. What do you want me to say? Looking to fill time. I wanted to talk tonight about life decisions that I've regretted. And maybe life decisions that you have regretted. It would be nice if I were not alone in admitting to all of the ridiculously stupid things that I've done in my life. But I'm happy to start. What sort of what got me in what got this into my head was actually just like in the course of talking last week about getting into music. I think I said something like, I do find that one of the funniest memes. No. I'm thinking of more like things that you look back on and are like, that was a mistake. Not like relationship stuff, I guess is where I'm choosing to draw the line for me is like relationship stuff. There's a lot of things that I wish I did differently in relationships, but if I went down that road, it would be a depression stream. So I don't want it to be a depression stream. I'd like it to be it would have been nice if kind of stream. But what got me thinking about this was when I said, and when I thought about it, I somewhat surprised myself that I almost regretted getting into music, and I'm still not sure how I feel about this. Like, there's a part of me that feels like I'm looking for a scapegoat there. Like I feel like if I could blame something, I'm latching onto something to blame, so that I can say like, well, if I hadn't been sort of distracted by the folly that was playing music, I would have done something much more constructive with my life thus far. And, I would have something to show for all of that time and effort that was put in, apart from like, being able to annoy people at why did that? Do you see a light go on over here? That's a reflection. being able to annoy people at a party by pulling out a guitar, So, but that made me like think about other things. I mean, I believe like in a technical way, I believe in predeterminism. I don't believe in any practical way, but I do believe that like, if we had the ability to map out every possible path of every possible subatomic particle, we could figure out, we would know exactly what every decision was, but it's beyond the point of being futile to try to do so. So therefore we live as if things are not predetermined. And that in itself is likely predetermined. So I'm not like I don't know, if I was in one of those Freaky Friday 13 going on 30. What are some others? Freaky Friday 13 going on 30. There was one with the guy from Bronson Pinchot. They're all called like Topsy Turvy or Flipperoo, Switcherama. That genre of movies where like an older person and a younger person swap bodies. You can't do those anymore. No, they're pretty problematic when you go back and look at them. Especially if you had like, the older person in the younger person's body, say, going to phys ed and going into the shower, which I think was actually in. There was one with Judge Reinhold. Man, there were a bunch of these movies, and one with Fred Savage. I'm probably talking about the same one. Shit. Now I feel like I gotta look one up. Because these predate most of you all, I think. Fred Savage and Judge Reinhold. Vice versa. Yeah. So Freaky Friday, Topsy Turvy, Vice versa, 13 going on 30. Like and Fred Savage has been, he's been accused of sexual misconduct, hasn't he? I mean, he was just a kid in Vice versa, but oh my God, look at Judge Reinhold. Judge Reinhold, the actor who will forever be remembered as the guy masturbating while Phoebe Cates is swimming in a pool. That's how I remember. This is my my childhood was Fast Times at Ridgemont High. What did I went back. All those movies are terrible. Like, Just One of the Guys. I went back and watched this movie, Just One of the Guys, because I saw it. You know how like everything is now fragmented into, there are just so many fucking streaming channels that with stupid names like Fruby and Tubu, and they all kind of sound like they're just generated, and they're just like kind of, we fed all the existing ones in and they spit out variants on them. But if you're willing to sit through the ads, you can watch these movies that like you can't really find anywhere else. Oh, yes. What got me going down this path was saw a scene from 3 O'Clock High, which was actually one of the good ones from that time period. But then it got me in a sort of rabbit hole that led me to Just One of the Guys. That movie has, that movie is, I remember when I was young, a kid, I remember watching it and thinking, this is funny. And I like this person who, the female lady, the idea is the female lead is in high school. She feels like she's not being taken seriously because she is pretty and female. So she decides to go to the high school across town as a man, pretending she is a man, to see if she will get like better grades as a man. And already, like, even just describing that concept, there's problems with it. I did really like the actor. I don't think that she was in anything else. Like, I don't remember her from anything else. But her brother was played by Billy Jacoby, and it was just like the F slur was in there constantly. Like, it was just like, I was like, oh my God. Like, I watched this when I was, 11 years old or 12 years old. It's terrible. Moby Dick, Freebie. Yes, that's one of them. In fact, I think that might have been the one. Oh, Kids in the Hall. Who's talking about Kids in the Hall? So I also watched the new Kids in the Hall stuff. But yeah, you go watch the older Kids in the Hall stuff, and there's some issues with that too. I think some of their sketches still hold up. The Bad Doctor sketch is quite funny, and a lot of Buddy Love's monologues are pretty funny. I'm not sure what the context was for this. Oh, yes. Well, that's big. Yeah, that was a huge one. God, there were a lot of those movies around that time. I wonder if that speaks to an undercurrent of like, hear me out. Hold on. I wonder if the large number of movies made in the 80s that have to do with either gender swapping or age swapping speak to a sort of rumbling undercurrent that had to be repressed, right? Because nobody would accept it at the time. Nobody. What am I saying? It's a good thing I had that up there, 'cause it just occurred to me. I'm basically saying that. Stupid. I'm having a complete that thought was really dumb. I guess I'm just wondering, like, why the hell were there so many movies like that in the 80s? But I guess it wasn't just the 80s, right? Like Some Like It Hot. It's been an oft mind trope. But I watched just one of the guys, and it's got issues. The whole movie has issues. It's practically like there is not a scene that goes by that does not have an issue that you can't look at now and be like, oh God, that fucking. Yeesh. I'm glad that a lot of people equate books and films and music, right, as kind of similarly high levels of culture, right? I guess there was music that was like that too, but it seems like as a whole, 80s music held up better than 80s movies. Is that dumb to say? Books have always been, emblematic. I mean, I was actually just rereading parts of Tom Sawyer, and I mean there are problems with Tom Sawyer, obviously, but they're sort of like emblematic of the time in which they were written, But man, yeah, like 80s movies were definitely a low for comedy. It was low comedy. That was like people were laughing at stuff they were uncomfortable with and didn't know how to confront. And there was not like the cultural will to confront any of that stuff at that time. So I think people just kind of shut up and went, yeah, that's funny. Yeah. Wait, are you laughing at me? No? You're laughing at them? Okay. That's fine. Whew. I thought they were laughing at me for a second. That's where I would be scared, but no. Yeah, that's true, Q. That's true. But you could, yeah. Yes and, well, I don't really want to argue this. I didn't know they were doing a Quantum Leap remake. So what's his name is dead. Are they still going to have Scott Bakula? The guy from Paris, Texas, that was, Scott Bakula's sidekick. He died. DIED. Haley Peterson made it. Cool. Red Panda. Hey. What is IWTV? I'd like to know what this is. Oh, Amy, you live near Hannibal. I'm surprised this has not been sort of obviated, or at least like censored, right? I think censorship is probably the wrong way to go there. Yes, Dean Stockwell. That's right. Hey, Alan, I remember. You're Alan. Oh, man, now we're talking about The Stand? What's going on here? Hey, Jeff. I saw that Lexi was not going to be able to make it because she's lighting up the dance floor. Yeah, I was a big Dean Stockwell fan. Not necessarily in Quantum Leap, but I just liked Paris, Texas a lot. Also, we lost, another one of the French New Wave directors. And also the Queen died. But I'm of two minds about that. I'm completely ambivalent to the death of the Queen, except that, it's just sort of someone who has existed for my entire life as an icon. And it's sort of bizarre how I know I've shown it on this stream before, like that horrible, data is beautiful, but data is also really, really scary. Data visualization can be really scary. And when you look at the data visualization for your chance of dying based on age, and it's just a nice gradient. It's a nice blue-green gradient that sort of politely reminds you that once you hit like 60, 70, your odds of getting through the year are less than your odds of not getting through the year. But it's weird because when you get to that age, it must feel like, to some extent, it must be like, I have been alive for so fucking long, I think I might never die. This might just never happen. I mean, the Queen, I don't know, who knows what problems she had. She seemed relatively with it. I mean, she was shaking hands with that. I'm not following British politics at all, but I have seen speeches that Liz Truss made prior to her ascendancy, and she seems like a bit of a buffoon. She comes off that way. Like, you can't talk about cheese and wait for applause, like, on every point when you say something like, last year, British cheese was 3/4 of all cheese consumed in Great Britain was manufactured inside Great Britain. And she kind of looks around waiting for everyone to laugh or clap. She should have laughed. But she shook hands with Liz Truss, and she looked like, kind of the same as she's looked for the past 15, 20 years. It's also strange how you kind of with how your brain, the neuroplasticity of your brain allows you to sort of reconcile newer images of the Queen with older images of the Queen. And then you go back and you're like, oh, really? She looked like that in 2004? Really kind of thought she looked the same for the past 40 years. Excuse me? Pardon me? I gotta say, like, this does seem like, so when I think of English cheese, I think of like government cheese, right? Like I can see it's like the color of most walls, right? That kind of, there's some yellow to it. The color of most walls after the paint is about 5 to 10 years old. Like a pasty white with some yellow in it. Like you're telling me you're not gonna go for like French or any other country's cheese. The vowels have no tongue movement. La, that doesn't seem possible. Last year, last year, 3/4 of all British cheese consumed in Britain was also manufactured in Britain. Thank you very much. 37% of all milk drank in Great Britain was produced by British cows. They don't call them cows there, do they? They call them mad cows. They call them Holsteins. British Holsteins. Oh, look, I want to learn. What? Use your, this is, okay, yeah, use your lips. Last year. Last year. Yeah, now I sound like I'm from Texas. I do better. I think I do better when I don't think about it. Exactly, colorful dreams, right? Like, I get it. Like, England wants to be self-sufficient. You're a tiny island in the grand scheme of things, right? Like you know, some trade is probably a good thing. Maybe Brexit wasn't as good a deal as everyone made it out to be. I don't know. Oh man, little baby bells. Lip and tongue action. No, I know. I know what actual government cheese was. I was just I was insulting the quality of British cheese. What else made me mad this past week? This made me mad. Check this out.
PSA to everyone out there. I'm speaking for myself, but I'm probably speaking for a large majority of other officers out there. If we're driving on the freeway in our police car, get the out of the way. Get the out of the way. If you merge and we follow behind you and we merge too, you're probably in trouble. The best way to find that out is get the out of the way. I can go 90 miles an hour. You can't. You can't do that. So get the out of the way. If us officers stay behind you long enough, we can find a reason to pull you over. So you might as well get the out of the way. Super simple. That's all. You're welcome.
I love the insertion there of, if we follow you long enough, we'll find a reason to pull you over. unintentional honesty. And yet I feel like I can't go without mentioning that the police officer who pulled me over 3 or 4 weeks ago was a gentleman and a scholar. One of the good ones. Literally doing like the thing, the epitome of me feeling guilty and also being grateful in that moment for that privilege, right? The privilege of I mean, I don't know how much detail I went into that, but if I told you all the details around that. So ASMR Creations was in the car. ASMR Creations is Sherry, who I did the Buffalo 66 video with. We were going, she wanted to get, and we actually incorporated this into the video, right? She wanted to have like liquor bottles, right? And have them be in the scene. And I don't drink. And we had eaten at a place and we'd seen like there was a liquor store right next door to it. Like, I don't know, like 2 blocks from the hotel, if that. And so she was like, oh, just take me there and you can just kind of like wait in the car and I'll run in and get something that'll work, right? And I forgot my wallet. And because I had been looking up something about my car like the previous week, all of my information, my registration, my insurance card, everything was sitting on my desk right over here. It was not in my car. It was like almost midnight. And this was, I think it was a Saturday night. And this cop pulled me over in the 2 blocks between the Motel 6 and the liquor store, pulled me over into a parking lot, and I let him know that I didn't have my license, I didn't have my proof of insurance, I didn't have my registration. We were going to a liquor store, to which he did make some remark about, well, how are you supposed to buy liquor if you don't have your ID? Which I thought was sweet. That was so sweet of him to say that to me. But, told him, oh, no, I wasn't going in. Just she was going in. She was the one who wanted alcohol. So, yeah. And then he went back to his car with nothing. Nothing. And I'm like, okay, this is either they're going to take my car, right, impound my car, and I'm going to have to pay to get it removed, etc. Or I'm going to be, like, technically he should not have allowed me to drive, right? You're not supposed to be able to drive without your license. Let's not, for the moment, let's forget that I have a crack in my windshield that crosses the driver's wiper blade area, which technically makes it illegal, even though it's a small crack. So I had like 8 strikes against me, and he went back to the police car and came back up after a few minutes and just said, be careful. And my reaction was one of shock. I was like, are you serious? I think I said, are you serious? Like, really? Like, if I were black, if I were any ethnicity, I mean, whatever. Maybe this guy is nice to everybody. But I am fairly certain that I got out of that situation unscathed based on the type of car I drive, the color of my skin. And the fact that I put my hands at 10 and 2 on the wheel, I don't know. That's one thing I will do, right? Like I'll always make sure that my hands are like this when a police officer pulls me over, when a cop pulls my ass over, because I feel like, don't give him any wiggle room. But yeah, I was very ambivalent. I still do have very conflicting feelings about that because, obviously on one hand, I'm glad I was not flailed. But on the other hand, I'm like, wow, that's exactly the problem. Right? Like, why wasn't I held accountable for really stupid and almost like kind of like weirdly sort of insidious, like he must have seen, like I think he was following us from the Motel 6, so he must have seen that we came out of the Motel 6. So there's all kinds of like, I'm not suggesting that ASMR creations in any way could be mistaken for anything other than a perfectly lovely, upstanding woman. But there's a lot of things that like could have been going through that police officer's mind as far as like, well, what's the situation here? Like what's actually going on? And maybe some of those might have been worth looking into a little more, but he didn't. It's funny. He did have a body cam, and I found myself staring at it because I was like, is that a GoPro Hero Black? Is that a 10 or is that a 9? I didn't know cop cameras were heroes. It's kind of ironic when you think about that, and it probably varies from department to department. I don't know, but he did inform us that he was recording. That was like the first thing he said was, "I'm recording our interactions." If I were smart, I would have a camera of my own going, but yeah. Oh my God. I could talk my way into a paper bag, out of Q. You don't even know. You don't even know the things that I have talked myself. I can feign ignorance. I can feign stupidity like you wouldn't believe. I'm incredibly good at appearing completely shocked about something that I totally knew beforehand, but I pretend to be appalled at myself. I'm like, oh my God, how could I have let that happen? You don't even need to be mad at me because I am so mad at myself right now that I'm mad enough for the both of us. You don't even need to be mad at me anymore. I was listening to some podcast and it went off on like how to not be a victim, right? Like how to not portray yourself as a victim. And it was the most like a bunch of ridiculous tripe. It was basically like, don't look like a wounded animal, right? Don't walk slower than other people, but don't walk faster than other people because you don't want to stand out from the pack. You want to be in the pack, right? Don't look at the ground. Don't look at the sky. Don't look around, but don't look around too much. Not like you're paranoid. You're just like, hey, I know what's going on. I'm aware of my surroundings. It was just kind of like, okay, so, just act like normal, right? Like they're gonna, like if you're a person has a broken leg, like you're gonna appear like that's not gonna help you. That information's not gonna help you. The idea of like making eye contact with people as being an indicator of like, I'm not afraid to make eye contact with you. Fuck that, man. I don't make eye contact with people because I don't fucking want to have to look at people. Is Q making fun of me more? I only talk to the cops when I have to. Wait. So does it sound like I'm like bragging about it? I guess it does seem like I'm bragging about being a good liar. That's not really something that I should be proud of if it were true. I don't think I'm a good liar. Here's the qualification that I'll give. I always feel guilty. Like, regardless of if I did something wrong or not, I feel guilty about things that I haven't even done. That, like, if somebody thinks I've done something and I think they have a good reason to believe that I've done the thing, even if I haven't done the thing, I will feel guilty about it. And in that respect, I'm a terrible liar because I have in the past, I think, allowed people to believe things about me that were not true, that were detrimental to their opinion of me, because I almost felt like I just deserved it. And then also, like, I don't really like arguing. I don't enjoy the process of arguing. At one point in my life, I loved arguing. So, when I am speaking with somebody and they are, say, they have an argumentative personality, or I have any kind of friendship with somebody where they have an argumentative personality and it is sort of in their nature to argue. And I think sometimes that comes with, it comes with precociousness and youth, right? And also just like a combative nature. Like one of my exes is, a public defender, or was a public defender. And so it was in her nature to like, whenever there was something to argue, she saw it as, well, okay, this is a good chance for me to practice my craft. Which I wasn't down with that. So which is equally frustrating, I think, for the other person. I would often be like, all right, fine, you win, whatever. And I find it really annoying when circumstances sort of conspire to paint a false picture, but it's like there are 2 or 3 breadcrumbs leading in one direction, and you don't have the full context, and you don't see that like the direction's actually going like this. You just see the 3 breadcrumbs on a side. Here, why don't I do a quick little show? Let me show you what I mean in a better. I can do a better visual. Maybe the path is this. Oh, this is blown out. The path is this. Of truth. This is the path of truth, right? But the contextual data points you get are these 5. That's the data you get. And then this is the conclusion you draw. Right? And I understand here what I've done is kind of done like a sine wave. And that actually probably would be the right conclusion to draw if you wanted to predict the point where that sine wave is intersecting. But I think you get the idea I'm trying to go for there. Picking and choosing your data points or having an insufficient set can lead to, oh look, all the leeches congealed into one massive leech. Not massive leech, mass of leech. It's a little warmer in this room because of all the lights, particularly that one. It's difficult to be precocious at 50. Easy to be precocious at 11. Well, it can't be a linear equation. That's my point, right? You'd have to derive the natural log cabin. Anyway, so I get into those situations occasionally. Red Panda, what are you doing here? If a 12-hour shift, yes, you should be asleep. Be asleep. Go to sleep. That's not a bad idea. I don't know that I want to double down on the leech stuff, although I had fun going. Did not have the beret, Nasha. I don't see smoking cigarettes as precocious. I was a goody two shoes when it came to that kind of stuff. Oh well, no, I guess. I mean, there were a couple of infractions, but as I've said, like I didn't try any drugs or drink beer until after high school. Yeah, it was. Damn right it was. Slowed down with some, I put a resonator effect on it. I've got them right here. You want to hear them? Here they go. Oh, shit. No. Uh-oh. That was a mistake. If I disappear here in a second, that's my fault. Shit. That was a big mistake. I just today, as a matter of fact, can you all still hear me and see me? I think the stream is still going. But loading up Premiere, especially when you just recently... Oh my God, I just realized also this file name. So I did, I just did like the leech sucking sound effects and then some heartbeat sound effects in one file. And I didn't really realize this until just now, but I named the file something. Wonder if you can guess what I named it. Yeah. Not intentional. It was not intentional for it to be named that. I was just like, okay, well, it's the leeches sucking and it's the heartbeat. Let's see how it sounds. This is pre any effects. Just me trying a bunch of different mouth sounds. Okay, I'll stop it. Stopped it. Oh, have a good night's sleep, Jeff. Thanks for coming by. That would be a good band name, Q. Well, yeah, it sounds weird. I do this for you. I do this for all of you. Do you think I wanted to like sit here and make those noises? They were leeches. They were leeches on your ear drums. Hey, this happened also this week, which I think is pretty funny.
Then he goes, well, I got some bad news. And I go, okay, here it comes, right? He goes, we're taking your cell phone. We have a warrant for your cell phone. I go, no. I said, my whole company, I run 5 companies off that. I don't have a computer. My hearing aids run off this. Everything runs off my phone. I said, and then I said, if I don't give it to you, will you arrest me then? And I was just, I'm going, are you kidding me? You're not getting my phone. And he shows me this arrest warrant. We're going to put it up here on a thing, or not, this phone arrest phone to arrest my phone.
A warrant for your phone. A subpoena for your phone. A warrant for your phone.
Yeah. So he gives me this, and we'll put it up on the screen in a minute. And I'm going, so then I go, well, can I call a lawyer? So I actually called a lawyer. He gets on the phone, and I said, hey, I'm not giving him my phone. And he's going, no, you should give him the phone. He goes, sir, we have a warrant and arrest, for a warrant for his phone. And I go, I'm thinking, well, they'll arrest me if I won't give the phone. But no, if you read this, they would have done everything they could, because they could, the phone was right there. Believe me, they would have got the phone. Okay.
What the hell?
With physical force, they would have got the phone. I mean, I had to give up the phone, right? And I go, like, everything I run about this phone, I said, this is my life. Businesses rely on this. Everything I have relies on it. I can't even imagine you can just take somebody's phone because they want me to be a witness
That's not why they took his phone.
The Tina Peters case. Okay, but I'm not a witness. They just want my phone.
So the MyPillow guy was sitting in the drive-through lane for Hardee's. I don't know if y'all know Hardee's. Yeah, that was also a pretty funny. They arrested my phone. So the guy's a multi-millionaire, possibly billionaire. I don't know what Mike Lindell's worth is. I know it's, everything that he's gotten, he deserves, and he obtained legally, and he is he's a canny businessman, disciple of the Don. And it's interesting when you start to look at, like, the list of phones that the FBI has gotten subpoenas for. Well, Hardee's is everywhere. Hardee's is on the East Coast as well. It's like Arby's, but worse. I don't know. Oh, I thought he was worth more than this. It almost makes me not want to have this, but oh, what happened to it? I just had it. There we go. Let's get that down here. Let's get it expanded. And I just want to remind you all that if you use the promo code L7, it's actually, it's L77, but if it were L7, that would be something else. At mypillow.com, or call a strange use of capitalization there. There's inconsistent. For some reason, or is not capitalized. If they chose to do everything, if they chose to do like camel caps, then everything but like at or to would be capitalized. But it looks like they chose to capitalize everything except for the or, which is an interesting choice. Also interesting, 66%. I don't know. Kind of close to the devil's number there, Mike. I do think your American flag crucifix logo is better than a lot of sort of conservative design, but it's a shame that TV ruins it. I don't want you all to think that I'm endorsing Mike Lindell. I'm just saying you can save up to 66% off, which means nothing. Up to 66% off, that means nothing. Could be 2% off. Anything under 66%. Oh, this is still not... Okay. So, there. Now it's nice and centered. That kind of goes... Oh, we can start stacking these things. Oh, no. The ridge one is behind that. Okay, there we go. We got all kinds of lower thirds banners that can go on there. Pretty good. And Trump had his special masters approved, or one of his special masters approved by the Department of Justice. That's interesting too. I don't really feel like talking politics tonight. Indigo, what book? You always come up with the best profile pictures. What book do you need to read? Before you go, Indigo. I didn't see you until just now. Oh, that's right. You started college, Indigo. I just don't want to go into it tonight. I'm not feeling in any way like we had a topic. Somebody tell me something that a life decision that they've regretted. I'll start. I actually think, well, no, I don't love this, but I also don't hate it, especially if you don't know where that can of Coke has been. You ever look at the top of a can of Coke? You're at a gas station. You pick up a can of Coke out of the freezer or out of the dollar. Although really the machines don't carry cans much anymore. They carry the 14-ounce bottle, the 16-ounce bottles. Oh, Indigo. My goodness. Who's pulling your hair in that picture? Somebody tell me a life decision that they've regretted. Oh, but Stacy, this is too general. This is too broad. I think everybody has this regret, and it is impossible to curb by and large, right? Like it's not like you can go to someone in high school and say, hey, like I realize this seems really important to you now, but it's not going to be. And you'll look back on this and you'll think it was silly. That just doesn't work. Like you can't, brains don't work that way. We are like partially solipsistic in the way that we view our surroundings and the way like things feel to us, right? Like you can't just divorce yourself from, in fact, I wonder, like if you did have the ability to say, go back in time and be, in a younger person's body, in the younger version of yourself, right, in high school, you would have all the knowledge that you've accumulated, but you would still have the actual brain that you had when you were younger. which is significant, right? Like the way that the brain processes information changes quite a bit. So even just having the knowledge, I wonder if it's one of those things where, like, you have a near-death experience and it changes you, but it doesn't change you for that long. Like, it changes you for a few weeks, I wonder how long it would be before the things that you, even with your knowledge of your extra years outside of high school, right? Even with that knowledge, like, would you still feel like the pressure anyway? I mean, it's like, there's not a monster under your bed, but you check anyway. Oh, yeah. That feels like a jerky thing to do. Well, Q, but this is not, now I feel like I'm taking umbrage with, like, people's, this is not your fault. That's not your fault. That's the 23-year-old's fault. Oh, Pivy. I very highly regret telling my ex that the spoon my godmother gave me at my christening was actual silver. He stole it and pawned it. I can never have that. Oh my God. That's terrible. What a fucking shitty thing to do. Did that happen while you were still involved? Like, did he do it and claim he didn't do it and you found out later that he did? Or they did. What would be enough? Like, do you need to microdose every day? Wow, Amy, that's a statement. That's a statement. Like, I am of the opinion that just because a relationship ended, it doesn't mean that it was a failure. Of course, everybody has their own. Like, I'm speaking for me. I'm not trying to override what you're saying here. I am curious. Look at that. I'm curious if you don't think that you learned from those relationships or some of those relationships. Like, obviously, some of them might be like, man, that was a year of my life that, I'll never get back. It was horrible. I don't feel like I learned anything from it except it made me more bitter. You can't regret future things, Indigo. Oh, that's a good one, Lisa. A lot of people would argue the opposite here and say they wish they had taken a gap year or a couple of gap years, mostly because, like, having to pick what you're going to do for the rest of your life when you're 18 years old seems like a fool's errand. And having to sign up for, whatever $20,000 to $150,000 worth of debt at that age without really understanding what that means, or maybe having a sort of fatalistic temperament that means you don't really think further than a few years ahead. It's just like, but do you say this, Lisa, because you didn't go to college right after high school and then you never went? Or it took you a long time to go? Wow, Amy, yeah, that is rough. You can't get roommates? Uh-oh. I relate to this. This is rough. being around death is, I mean, I don't know how old you were when that happened. I'm sorry that it happened, obviously, but yeah, I mean, being around death is hard. Like that, yeah, I mean, I've had stuff like that happen with friends, I mean, my dad died when I was pretty young. I didn't go to his funeral. I regret not going to his funeral. I didn't want to. I was in, some kind of denial. And it's strange because, like, in a way, we were kind of estranged, right? I only saw him, maybe every other weekend or something like that. And I think he probably thought like he wasn't that important to my life or my sister's life. But that obviously wasn't true. Oh, okay. That's your sister pulling your hair. That is what sisters do. Oh, Warp Raven. Oh, that's a shame. But if that opportunity or an opportunity like that comes up again, you will take it, right? All right, Miz, you can bite it. I'm trying to figure out what people are saying here. Why? Wait, fuck. What did Pivy say that I missed? Oh, yes, the spoon. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's the kind of thing where it's like, dude, I'd rather just give you the money. Like, what the fuck? You would tell 15-year-old you that your mother ignored you from age 5 to 18 and taking care of her when you're 20 and she's bedbound will not create a healthy relationship, so tell her to fuck off. That's a difficult position, Nasha, right? Like, do you not think that had you told her to fuck off, you would not feel perhaps like some level of lifelong guilt? Do you think? Oh, I see. Well, I mean, 23's still not fully formed frontal lobally. Okay. Well, yeah, I definitely this sounds like a sort of broad precept for you. I don't have that, right? Like, I feel more like, I mean, there are relationships that I've had that I've been like, yeah, that was not a good idea. I knew it going in, and so I have no one to blame but myself for the way that it ended. But there are also relationships where it's kind of like, well, take a chance, right? You never know. Oh, happy birthday. No longer a teenager. You will never be a teenager again. That is one of Patton Oswalt's birthdays you should have. 20, turning 10 is a big one. Entering your teenage years is a big one. My daughter just had that. She just turned 13 recently. This is my month of birthdays. My ex-wife, daughter, son, and myself all have birthdays this month. As you all have said before, was a house full of Virgos. Yeah. I do this too, but I guess I just feel like I now carry, well, no, you know what? I also believe that like emotional baggage just kind of hangs around and accumulates and doesn't really go away. And you just have more and more things that end up being triggers for you, more and more things that you're like, oh no, this is like that other thing. And maybe it's not, right? Like, I guess I don't feel like people get necessarily better at relationships as they get older. I think maybe they even get a little bit worse. There's probably an age that's, based on your relative emotional maturity is the sweet spot. But then at some point, I feel like you're just starting to accumulate negative experiences that you're going to then be avoidant to anything that's close to that. And that might cause you to be overly risk averse. But so we can see that go down. That's a good one, Hollow Fox. So now, do you have like carpal tunnel? That's rough, because when you first start, right, like you almost probably felt like you couldn't say no to anything, and you wanted to be everything to be perfect, and maybe had not been able to kind of set limits for yourself. Selkie. I resonate with this. I have a similar regret. Were you able to salvage the marriage? I'm curious if that's not too personal a question. Juan. I'm calling you Juan because you told me to call you Juan, by the way. I didn't know that you had the chance. Where would you go? And might you get that chance again? Or was that really kind of like a once-in-a-lifetime kind of deal? I mean, it doesn't seem like you could ever know if that's going to be a once-in-a-lifetime kind of deal. Yeah. Oops, this was not, I don't even see this. This is not what I thought I brought up. It's interesting that you say the easier ones are like not pursuing playing an instrument. And one of my possible regrets is, well, I guess it's not really playing the instrument, but like investing so much labor into music, apart from just like the enjoyment of it as a hobby, right? But I meant to bring that one up. Let's see if it works. Oh, that sucks, Stacy. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, 21, you're still a kid, right? In a lot of ways. Certainly like temperament and keeping self-control on that kind of stuff. But we're not like the worst thing that we did to our parents or our children. Right? We're, although I understand how that would just kind of like stick with you. That kind of thing stuck with me too, right? Like I definitely like, I think about like things I said to my father that I'm like, oh man, that was, could this have contributed in any way to the way that he felt, right? Like, just don't know, Don't say this, Indigo. You're writing essay. You're engaged in college. Your future's so bright. You have to wear sunglasses. Amy, this sounds like self-flagellation. You might be insufferable to many people, but maybe there is the person who would complement your insufferability perfectly. Or not perfectly, nothing's perfect. Close enough. It's very possible that had you taken the dream road, you might have regretted taking the dream road. Maybe. I don't know. Like, I feel like all these things are like, none of these things are absolutes, or a lot of them are not absolutes. Lisa, two of your exes have died. That seems high. But yeah, that would be rough. Why did I regret not going to his funeral? Because this was a ritualistic celebration of his life, and his friends were there, and, there were, I am told, moving speeches made, etc. I just feel like, it would have been the right thing to do, would have been to go. I'm noticing something about this light. Maybe one of my regrets is using this light. Look at the shadow it's casting on my nose here. That is a really harsh shadow. You are a softbox. You are not supposed to cast really harsh shadows. Although I realize my nose is a difficult subject. Hold on a second here. Yeah, that's you, buddy. That is you. Doing this. Look at that. There's like a gap here. And then the shadow line starts. I think because this is doing some fill. What? That's bizarre looking. Looks fake. It looks like a bad shader in like a cell shaded game. Maybe when both panels are working, it will redeem it. It's probably just a positional thing. Oh, yeah, that's rough, Nasha. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was hoping that our regrets would be less, didn't tell a loved one something before they die. And more to do with, relationship woes or job woes or, yeah, exactly, Ms. Right, but that's fair enough, Nasha. Show up, please. Thank you. Yeah, exactly. There you go, Q. Right, like exactly correct. So I long regretted the one that got away, and then ended up getting back together with the one that got away, and it didn't work out. So that was, 10 years of my life, that interregnum, as it were, between our first and second relationships, that I sort of threw away that time, and my relationships during that time were not as meaningful as they might have otherwise been, because I was living with this this idea of a person that ended up not really being true. Oh, hey, LQ. Indigo, I thought you were gone. You have 30 pages of a book to read. Drinking, like addiction is just terrible. Obviously across the board. Some addiction makes it really hard to be around people. Who knows? Well, like maybe worse things might have been said, right? Like, but they're all what ifs. This is a terrible subject for a podcast. Why did I do this? What the heck? Holy shit, Nasha. You have had a difficult early life. That's terrible. I feel like I knew some of this. Oh, Warp Raven, what do we got? We went for a oh, drink. Oh shit. That's fucking that's eerie. Right? I mean, you didn't really know this person that well, right? So obviously well, I don't know when you say friends, but you hadn't seen them since college. Oh, okay, so you did know them quite well. And they died just when you were getting back in contact. That's rough. This is good to hear, Selkie. I hope that it works out. Ivy, yeah. Well, dodged a bullet, possibly literally. Yeah, and like I'm aware of all this stuff right now, but I still like have friends that I will dodge, even though I want to reach out. I want to like, I've turned into like a recluse. I tend to like get into a relationship and then kind of just push everybody else away, which is not ideal. It's not ideal for the relationship either. You gotta have a broader set of people to have experiences with, and not just put all of your eggs in one basket. Oh my God, Lisa. Damn. I feel like a lot of, I mean, obviously like Aaron Brockoviching this, right? Like it's like a lot of suburban areas built near high tension wires results in a lot of, a disproportionately high number of brain tumors in people. I'm not even talking about, cell phones. Who knows what we're doing to ourselves? Yeah, it looks like a bump. What the hell? It's your fault. I didn't say that. I'm just saying, everything sucks. Oh, dear. You should not love someone more than yourself. Do you think this might happen for you, Nasha? It's like that is going into something with I don't know. You have a whole you both probably have a whole new set of issues, you know? Oh, I got to get down in the comments here, so I guess I'm missing some stuff. Wait, what? No, I went past too much. I think that's a pretty good takeaway, right? Like, I mean, I know it's pretty trite, but if you give so much of yourself to somebody else that you kind of like don't realize, you might start to feel like you're expendable, right? And the light shines out of their ass. And then who knows what sort of compromises you make. On yourself, like compromises you make of yourself, you know. Oh, Lisa, that's sweet. Not necessary. Thank you, but yeah, I'm happy to share that wisdom over and over again. Everything sucks. Hey, young timer. I'm not an old timer yet. I have 5 more days. Time officially an old timer. I'm still keeping up with the kiddos. Oh, Lexi's back. Lexi, Jeff went to bed. Just in case you weren't aware. Jeff went to sleep. Yeah, Derek, I agree with this. All right, hold on. I apologize for this, but it's really annoying me. I need to do something about this. So if you all don't go away, remember that load screen that I didn't do in the beginning? I'm going to do it right now just for like 1 minute. I'll be right back. Oh, let me get some music going here. What music can I put here? I don't want to do the regular music. Do some different music. It's been a while. Here, we'll do this. We'll do this. All right, I'll be right back.
I love you more than anything, but sometimes
can't fix it. I mean, I can fix it, but I cannot fix it right here, right now. It's going to require some redoing of some stuff. So I give up. Oh my gosh, Nasha. I knew it was awful. Anyway, so regrets. Let's see. I regret giving up on college for such a trite reason. I'm not talking about music here. I'm literally talking about it was very difficult to get to class. I lived off campus. It took me a long time to get to campus, and it took me a long time to park. And so as often as not, instead of going to class, I would like go to Key Biscayne or something and hang out on the beach. Well, Nasha, you said what you said. Own it. That's fine. I don't expect, everything to be good that I'm doing. Lexi, you must not know me. Of course, I do not like the person I currently am. I feel like I definitely feel like I've coasted through most of life, I'm well aware I've been playing on easy mode and have not taken full advantage of the opportunities presented to me, and have not worked as hard as I could, generally speaking, right? There have certainly been times where I feel like I've put in the graft, but not as many as I should. And I could be in a better position today if that were the case. I mean, I'm going to be 50, right? Like, the majority of my success is undeniably behind me, unless something amazing happens in the near future. But I don't have that. I talk to my people who are friends of mine, right, who are roughly the same generation, and they've gotten themselves into situations where, they are, well prepared for their retirement and their future, and, they can continue working for another decade, but maybe not, So I don't know. Oh, Stacy, thank you for hanging out. Time zones and age means you must sleep. Thanks for hanging out, Stacy. No, I'm talking about more about taking advantage of opportunities for me to be self-sustaining, right? Like, particularly, there was a period in my life where I was, part of a startup, making video games, and I did not treat that the way that I should have. I did not sort of, I didn't give it my all. Like I did what I could. I did all right, just not. I didn't give the amount that that's a case where I feel like maybe I should have given 150%. That's stupid. 100%, and possibly have leveraged that into something that would have grown more than it did. As it was, there were 4 of us that started this thing, and then at one point, we got up to 20 people that were working there, but that was as big as it ever got. And then it dried up because we didn't expand enough. We were sort of reliant on making sort of crappy games based on existing intellectual properties, and that was enough for a time. We did branch out like a little bit, but not enough. Not enough that we could survive. And so like I saw the writing on the wall and started looking for employment in other places. And I think when I left, I think that pretty much marked the end of that group making stuff. And we made probably like made and published more than a dozen games, certainly, within like 5 or 6 years. So, I mean, we were churning things out. And anyone who knows anything about game development knows like a 6-month development time is nothing, right? You're not doing much more than slapping groups of mini games together and skinning them and calling them the Shrek playroom or the Bratz dressing room or whatever the IP was, right? We went a little further with SpongeBob and with some Agatha Christie stuff. And even like with Cars, we ended up getting the Cars license. But it was too little too late, right? It was just like not a lot of those companies went bankrupt that were sort of giving us our money. So, and we just we weren't pushing any barriers. We weren't creating anything, any kind of like an engine that we could use of our own, you know. It was just, I just feel like that was a period of my life that I think definitely the group was small enough that I feel like had I been in 100% and really been driving it more than I did, that we could have, we certainly could have been more successful than we were. But I just saw it as like a time to kind of goof off, you know, have fun, try some new stuff, that's when I transitioned from doing art to game design. So, I mean, it served that purpose pretty well. And it did allow me to get like jobs at bigger and better game development companies. But it was also like just a situation where I just looked at everything on every opportunity I saw like after that. And for some time after that was always like, well, how is this going to look on my resume for my next job? And if you're like evaluating whether you want to take a job based on how it's going to look on the job after the job you haven't even taken yet, I think that speaks to a couple things. One of them is like the volatility of the game design industry and the unhealthiness and the obviously like you're not really in the present moment if you're looking at, well, I can work here and then I can work here, work on a slightly better project, work on a slightly better project, work my way up, that kind of crap. Yeah, probably sometime around there. This is definitely a problem. It was, we had this one conference room back then, right? This was the early aughts. Those frosted glass desks and tables that everybody had. We would just lay out the rails and we'd be like, who's in for the all-nighter tonight? And we'd all hit them and we'd do the all-nighter. But then it would end up being like a mess when you look back. Oh, whoops. That's what I meant too. We'd pour Coca-Cola onto the conference tables. Yeah, I've never intentionally tried cocaine. I say intentionally. I'm sure I've tried stuff that had it in it. So I regret that, and then let me see. I think I regret. I briefly worked for a company that is a company working on one of the versions of Hogwarts Legacy right now. And again, when I was there, it was like a pretty small company. And we were working on something that I didn't personally find very exciting or fulfilling, and something that didn't really play to my strengths. But that would have been a perfect opportunity for me to lean into something different and learn something, new. And I didn't do that. I just kind of coasted. And the game ended up getting canceled. Like I've worked on, I think I have, I don't know, like 20 or 30 published games that I'm credited on, something like that. But probably not that many that have been canceled, but, something like 6 or 7 games that I've worked on that have gotten halfway done and then just canceled. I worked on a PS3 version of Power Rangers. A Power Rangers game for the PS3 was our biggest budget game that we'd had to date. A couple $1 million. There was like maybe 6 people working on it. Way too few people and way too little time. And we were just like going through doing this Power Rangers crap and not delivering at all on what we were supposed to be delivering, and the game got canceled after about 8 months. Yeah, Q, you're that's where I think I might have gotten it. Possibly also through horse. But I'm not 100% sure. It could just be like, amphetamines or something. Who knows? This is such a common thread. I'm sorry about this, Pi, but this seems to be like the way that it goes. And so I guess the lesson from that the lesson is obvious, and we should all know this lesson by now, but I'm still doing this. I'm still setting myself up for these situations more and more. The older I get and the older my friends get, it's just going to keep happening, It's not going to be great. So it might be that for me, that might be just a lesson that I never ever learned. Wait, what did I just casually coast past? Would it be shorter, Ms.? It might be much, much longer. I mean, you look at the, say, sci-fi writers of the 70s and 60s. They pretty much lived on Benzedrine and speed and coke and Stephen King. Stephen King is a perfect example of what a coked up writer can churn out. Oh, really, Derek? Yeah, I assumed you knew this, but yeah. Speaking of Stephen King, I am reading his latest book, Fairy Tale, and it is going exactly how I thought it would, which is I loved the first 100 pages, and then they discovered the portal to another world, and then I'm like, fuck. But I'm still reading it. Like, I'll read bad Stephen King. I don't know if that it's bad. It's too early for me to say bad. I'm just not that into fantasy anymore, I guess. Like I much prefer like when he's just writing about normal people, and maybe there's something nefarious and uncanny going on, and maybe there is like that sort of a villain who is a little bit, we're not talking about like Randall Flagg, but maybe a little too more like an Anton Chigurh type, right? That kind of stuff I still very much enjoy, but when it turns into basically like dragons or dragon-like creatures or people that transform into, unless it's like Lovecraft, but even Lovecraft, honestly, like I get a little tired of that, because it's just like the stakes are just, there's nothing you can ground anything in, because everything can just be trumped by the appearance of Shub-Niggurath or whatever elder god is going to just appear and crush everything and laugh at the attempts of men. And when you have those kinds of possible outs, it's hard for me to feel risk. Hard for me to feel the reality of risk. Oh yeah, Twilight Zone, right? Did he really? Was that really his fault? Like, so that you're talking about the stunt thing that happened on Twilight Zone? Oh, I've watched like the first 3 episodes, and I think I might have watched the first 3 even before last week, and I don't think I moved forward on that. Oh, hey Nick. Look, I like morally ambiguous antagonists. I like. I'm fine if they're not morally ambiguous. I just don't want them to be omnipotent or like being able to just pull what other kind of crazy things out of their ass, I don't like the fantasy elements. This is why I think, like, as I've aged, I enjoy or more enjoy like Cormac McCarthy's work, and like Child of God. Like Child of God is a super disturbing book, right? And it's got a villain that, or so does, come to think of it, like the judge, right? The judge from Blood Meridian. Like there are ways to make villains that seem superhuman in some ways, but like they're still, your mind allows it to bend enough that you don't have to completely suspend disbelief. Anton Chigurh was a good example of that. The judge from Blood Meridian, a good example of that. But whatever, I will read everything that Stephen King puts out. Like it makes me feel happy. Pretty fun. Fun's a word for it. Sure. I remember thinking All the Pretty Horses was like because my first exposure to that was the movie. At that point, I don't think I had read any Cormac McCarthy. And I was like, I'm not going to read this Nicholas Sparks kind of bullshit. How little I knew. I can do that. Can't I do that? I mean, I still am. If I finish it, it will be because I like it and I like the way that he writes. Not necessarily the stuff that he writes about. I mean, the first part of that book is about a kid's relationship with this aging, dying man and that man's dog. And it's touching, and it's like, I'm invested in these characters. And then seemingly out of left field, although the name of the book is Fairy Tale, so, I knew going in that it was going to happen. But as I was getting further on in the book, I was like, wait a minute. Maybe there's very little of this sort of fantasy stuff in here. But then quite suddenly, it goes from slice of life to just kind of straight up fantasy. Also interesting to note, and he's public about this, right? Like, boy, Stephen King sure kind of knows what he's talking about and has no problems delving into the dangers of getting hooked on pain pills, and opining on it at great length and clearly from experience, The Road. What about The Road? It's an excellent book with a fantastic scene based around Coca-Cola. Come on. Like, obviously with Fairy Tale, yes. But sometimes you don't know. Like, sometimes you get into a Stephen King book and you just don't know, like, if it's going to go that way or how hard it's going to lean into those elements. Obviously with Fairy Tale, I knew what I was getting into. I'm not going to not read it. I have wanted to do React videos for so long now. Like, I watch so many of them. It is not good for me. I watched a guy doing a react to Pink Floyd's The Wall in its entirety. And I now think that is Pink Floyd's best album. I was a Wish You Were Here or maybe Dark Side of the Moon advocate for a long time. But now I just feel like The Wall was completely in terms of, like, maybe it didn't have like the best hits on it, although it has Comfortably Numb, right? So, if you've got Comfortably Numb on you, you're gonna be okay. Yeah. The Road is a pretty fantastic book. And it certainly doesn't hold back on the bleak, but that's Cormac McCarthy, right? And Infinite Jest was a pretty fantastic book. I wouldn't call it bleak. I would call it difficult to categorize. I certainly take umbrage with this statement. On what are you saying? Are there two good albums? I would say they have probably half a dozen good albums. Maybe even more. I don't know how you could not say that Metal, Dark Side of the Moon, Animals, Wish You Were Here, The Wall. I think those certainly are all incredible albums. You could probably make some kind of argument for Piper at the Gates of Dawn. Not really my thing. Maybe Atom Heart Mother. It's harder to do that for a momentary lapse of reason. Actually, I think the final cut is incredible. So I would put the final cut on there as well. You have a fort of books? More book recommendations. I don't know, man. I'm currently, as usual, I'm in a sort of spate of reading uncanny, lesser-known authors like Stephen Graham Jones, Paul Tremblay, John Langan, Laird Barron, Brian Evanson. So can't go wrong with any of them, I don't think, if you're into horror, which I am. Let's see what else. I mean, a lot of what I'm reading now is not fiction, so not quite the same. Is this alternate reality game? What are we talking about here? Yeah, what is an ARG? I think. Oh, yes. Okay, there you go. Okay. Well, you're wrong, Juan. The Wall is fantastic. Final Cut is fantastic. Animals is very, very good. Metal is very, very good. I'm not an Ummagumma fan. Yeah, they had to find themselves a little bit. But whatever, I was a big Pink Floyd fan when I was younger. This doesn't mean anything to me. So is this a serious request? Yes? Yeah? Play Doki Doki Literature Club. I have to look it up. Or I need to go into this blind because this is. All right. I mean, like just from this, I feel like I'm not going to play it. This is what. Really? Really? Is it subversive? Is that why? Like, I'm guessing it's subversive in some way. Do not look it up. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. Like, okay, but what is the. It's got to be subversive for the genre, right? Going blind and raw. Yeah. Play Dream Daddy. Okay. I get it. I get what y'all are doing. I get it. Yeah, super subversive. I'm definitely going to play it. I'm going to start tonight. Well, see, Q, I kind of trust Q. Maybe that's my mistake. But I do kind of trust Q. All right. No, yeah, definitely. I'm not going to play a game called Dream Daddy. Just not happening. I will try. I'm going to try Doki Doki Literature Club. I'm going to try it. To prove my intent. Is it available on the Switch? About to see. Let's see here. Hold on a sec. Q, I don't know if you wouldn't lie to me, but shit, that's right. The new Monkey Island comes out on my birthday, I think. Hold on. Okay, here, close. Yes, Nintendo Direct. Yeah, we're all super excited about Nintendo Direct. Okay. I will say, like, there was a search. Okay, Doki Doki Literature Club Plus. This looks terrible. This looks so bad. Proceed to purchase. All right, I have Doki Doki Literature Club. It is downloading right now. Well, I already got the plus, so I'm not gonna play it on stream. Like I'm not gonna play a game on stream that I know nothing about like that. I like playing stuff on the Switch. I enjoy it. Let's see. Does it work on a Mac? See, the fact that you only want me to play this game streaming, that is sus. That makes me think I'm being set up. If it's a game that you want me to play and you think I will enjoy, then why would it matter if I do it on stream or not? But if it's designed to embarrass me, well, then you would want to see it on stream, wouldn't you? Why is my Steam not even loading? I'm not really an Apple dude. I just happen to, for the past couple of years, be using Mac Pros. Oh, great. Anything else you want to spoil about it for me? For some reason, Steam is not loading for me right now, so I will look into this, but I don't really like to sit here and play games very often. Oh. That's an interesting take. Okay. Well, can I still just play on the Switch but stream it? Like, do I need to play the Steam version? I can stream stuff on the Switch. It's not like I can't do that. But if this is something where like it requires community content or something in order for it to be the experience that you want it to be. Now, this wasn't a question because I know I can. I have done it before. So is the question like, hey, the Switch version is going to suck because the Steam version has a bunch of stuff that people have contributed to it? Or is it just, I want it to be streamed? I'm getting mixed signals here. Sequel, where they go in a completely different direction. It doesn't say it's a sequel. Everything Q is saying, just stream it from the Switch. Oh, well, I did love Undertale. Yeah. Okay, well, I'll look into it and make a decision. This is not a democracy. Oh man, I love listen to that. I love cine lenses. Yeah, you definitely would lead me wrong. Of course you would. That would be entertaining to lead me wrong. All right, I'm going to give it a go. I'll see if I can get it on Steam. I won't play it on the Switch, even though I just freaking bought it. And we'll see. I do hope the subversive enters into the picture early. Because if it's too much of a dating sim kind of manga deal, I will peace out pretty quick. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. And so thank you all for hanging out and for like wearing your hearts on your sleeves. And possibly also fuck y'all for getting me to play a game that might be absolutely terrible. Now, I mean, I guess now I'm pretty intrigued. Maybe I'll make it unlisted and like just give the link to people here. But maybe I won't. We'll see. Okay. Thank you all for is my crew neck blue up top and white at the sleeves? Yes. Has a blue crew neck and white sleeves. It is a stylish crew neck. And also, hi, Old Man Hiver. And also, good night. And I'll see you all soon. Hope you have a good evening. Bye, everybody.